tell my story about what happened and how I began in this treatment and went through this treatment, you really have to go back before that, because the issues that I had were going on for 2 years before I ever saw Dr. Dean. I had a diagnosis of possibility of prostate cancer, and when I got this diagnosis, it really freaked me out, and I couldn't sleep. So I had insomnia because I couldn't sleep. A doctor prescribed me medication that would help me sleep. The only problem was the medication that I was prescribed caused me to sleep 14 hours a day. And even when I was awake, I felt like a zombie. I couldn't do anything. And it really was not something that I really wanted to continue doing. So when I stopped taking that medication, I just exploded into anxiety, depression, and insomnia. I just couldn't sleep at all. I went to many doctors and was tested for many things during that two-year period. To tell you every story and every doctor and every test that I went to and took over that period of time, it would just take too long to tell. But on top of that, I don't even believe that I can really even remember them all and remember all the different medications and things that I was prescribed over that time period. All I could say is that nothing worked. I was still having insomnia. One time I remember specifically that I had a 5-day period where I didn't sleep at all. And even when I did sleep during that 2-year period, for short periods of time, you keep in mind that I was taking a lot of medications that were supposed to help me sleep. A normal person taking these medications that I was taking would have probably just been knocked out cold, but I could not sleep. And it just went on and on like this. I could tell you the medications again that I was prescribed and took, but again, it just would, first of all, I can't even remember them all. And on top of that, it was a long list of a lot of trials and trying to find things that would correct it. Fortunately, for some reason, I came into Dr. Dean's office, and I found him because I Googled something that had to do with something melatonin replacement therapy, and for some reason when I Googled that, his name came up, and I lived in town, so I went in to see him. And when I went in to see him the first time, I left and didn't come back. Well, I circled back for some reason, I don't know why, but I circled back to Dr. Dean about 6 months to a year later. And when I came into his office, he had told me about this new treatment that he was researching and investigating that had to do with neurotransmitters, and that possibly the problems that I was having sleeping were because of the neurotransmitters weren't firing properly, or something, deficiencies or what have you, would cause. I'm not sure exactly the science behind it, but at that point I was in such bad shape that I was really willing to try anything at that point. I felt like I was dying. I thought I was going to die, and I don't mean that in a hyperbolic manner. I mean, I really thought I was going to die, and I felt like I was dying. And I probably was dying because the stress and of the everyday anxiety was so bad that I always described it as I felt like I was being chased by alligators when I knew that there was nothing to fear or nothing to be afraid of, but yet my body was still reacting in a way with high levels of adrenaline that was causing me not to be able to go to sleep. And my days weren't very good either. They were worse. So I came in to see Dr. Dean, and he told me about this new treatment, and I started doing it. And it took a while for me to go through it. I took a lot of drips and took a lot of different combinations of whatever supplements were being prescribed to me intravenously. It was specific to some tests that were given, so it wasn't just a random supplements that I was given. It was specific to the issue that I was having. And slowly over time, I started feeling better. It started with things, noticeable differences in just the way that I looked. Even though I still wasn't quite sleeping well, and I was still having problems with anxiety, it wasn't at as high level. And I started to notice that the color started to come back in my face. I started to feel better slowly. I often described it as it was not a straight path that went like this. It was a path that kind of went up, came down a little bit, went up, came down, sort of like that. But it was always moving up during the whole process. And then I stopped taking the drips and just started went on oral supplements. And slowly after that, I began to get back to health and get back to being able to do the things that I like to do and be able to enjoy life again. There were just many things that happened during that period where I was sick that I just feel like even today, I feel like I just missed so much because of what I was going through. It was so difficult that it was very difficult for me to look outward to anything or anybody because I was just so sick. I had a tremendous support group around me, but even with that, I don't believe that I would probably still be here had I not, for some reason, been led to come to Dr. Dean's office that day. I'm just really thankful that I did. And Dr. Dean and his entire team that he has here is amazing. It was not an easy process to go through as far as how I was feeling, but the fact that I could get better and I was feeling better slowly over that period of time was worth it to me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not involved in this whatsoever, other than I believe I was their very first patient to do this. And this was probably, I would have to say, if I had to guess, I stopped stopped the IVs, I think it was 3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago. And I would say that I'm 100% healthy again. It was a long journey, and there was a lot of things that happened during that time period that I'd like to forget about. But I'm thankful that I did this, because I'm not sure if I'd be here or if what kind of shape I would be in. I just want to thank the Dr. Dean, his nurse Debbie, who was just an incredibly compassionate person, Wyatt and Jack for helping me regain my health, regain my life, and I want to thank God that He somehow led me to this place to where I came to this office as almost really feeling like it was a last resort, and being able to turn this around after being let down by so many doctors over and over and over again.